Everyone thought the problem was the visa. The distance. The culture clash. That's what we were shown. That's what we were told to believe. But that's not why they said, "I can't live like this anymore." That sentence didn't come from jet lag or homesickness. It came from something much deeper. Something TLC barely brushed past in a quick confessional before cutting to dramatic music and a commercial break. And if you've been watching closely, you felt it too. You could see it in the way they stopped touching. In the silence after arguments. In the forced smiles during interviews. The love story they sold us slowly started looking like survival. And here's the hidden truth nobody really unpacked. This relationship didn't fall apart because of one explosive fight. It collapsed under quiet, daily pressure. Money, control, immigration power, emotional imbalance, and the kind of resentment that builds when one person feels trapped and the other feels entitled. I know what you're thinking. But they looked so in love at the beginning. Exactly. That's the contradiction. Because in the beginning, it was passion. Long-distance phone calls, late-night promises, tears at the airport. The kind of intensity that makes you believe love conquers all. TLC framed it like a fairy tale racing against a 90-day clock. But love under pressure doesn't grow. It reveals. And before we go deeper, if you're the kind of viewer who watches past the edits, who notices what doesn't make the final cut, you're already on the truth-seeking side of this story. That's what we do here. We connect the dots TLC leaves scattered. Now here's the first thing most people missed. The shift started before they even landed in the same country. When they were long distance, the power felt equal. Both of them sacrificing, both of them dreaming. But once the visa was approved, the balance flipped overnight. One person became the provider, the sponsor, the legal lifeline. The other became dependent. And dependency doesn't just affect finances. It changes tone. It changes body language. It changes who apologizes first. You could see it in the small things. Who paid for dinner? Who chose the apartment? Who reminded the other, subtly, "I brought you here." That phrase wasn't always said out loud. But it was felt. And this is where everything quietly fell apart. Because behind the scenes, money started draining faster than expected. Rent, legal fees, travel debt, lifestyle expectations that didn't match reality. Social media followers started increasing, but so did criticism. On TikTok, fans began pointing out that one partner looked exhausted all the time. On X, threads popped up dissecting every awkward interaction. Reddit users were screenshotting moments where the tension felt too real to be scripted. Instagram comments were split down the middle. Half defending, half accusing. You signed up for this. They deserve better. This was always about the green card. No. This was emotional manipulation. And while fans argued online, the cameras kept rolling. But here's the part nobody was ready for. It wasn't just money pressure. It was identity loss. The person who moved countries left behind friends, family, career momentum, language comfort. They gave up everything familiar. And instead of feeling supported, they started feeling monitored. Where are you going? Who are you texting? Why are you upset? Why aren't you grateful? Grateful. That word showed up more than once. And that's when viewers started sensing something darker. Gratitude became leverage. The sponsor felt overwhelmed, bills piling up, expectations growing, online criticism stinging. But instead of expressing fear, it came out as control. And that's when the arguments stopped being about dishes or late nights. They became about power. You could see it in that one scene, the one TLC edited to look like just another fight. But watch it again. Watch the eye contact. Watch who leans back. Watch who looks defeated before the conversation even starts. That's not a couple debating. That's someone shrinking. And then came the social media spiral. One late night Instagram story. A cryptic caption. You don't know what happens when the cameras stop. Fans exploded. TikTok breakdown videos hit hundreds of thousands of views. YouTube commentary channels dissected body language frame by frame. On Reddit, Former cast insiders hinted that production had to intervene more than once. And that's when the phrase finally came out. "I can't live like this anymore." It wasn't screamed. It was said quietly. And that's what made it terrifying. Because when someone screams, there's still fire. When someone whispers that they're done, the fire's already out. But wait. Because what happened next made everything before this look small, and almost nobody connected the dots. Mid-season, there was a scene that felt random. A casual mention of a separate bank account. It was brushed off as financial organization. It wasn't. That was the beginning of the exit plan. Behind the scenes, friends had reportedly been contacted. Backup housing discussed. Legal consultations explored. And production. They kept filming like everything was just marriage growing pains. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't they just leave sooner? Because leaving isn't simple when your immigration status is tied to the person you're fighting with. That's the part TLC never slows down to explain. The imbalance isn't romantic drama. It's structural. One signature can change someone's entire future. And once that reality sinks in, love starts feeling conditional. Meanwhile, the sponsor wasn't evil. That's the uncomfortable truth. They were scared, overwhelmed, watching savings disappear, feeling pressure to maintain a lifestyle that matched what viewers expected from reality TV fame. Social media doesn't help struggling couples. It magnifies cracks. Fans started choosing sides aggressively. DMs filled with advice, accusations, threats. Friends got dragged in. Old exes resurfaced in comment sections. Every private argument became public speculation. And that pressure cooker, it exploded. This is where everything shifted from tension to damage. One night, cameras weren't even supposed to be there. But a mic caught more than it should have. A breakdown that wasn't polished for TV. Real tears. Real fear. The kind you can't edit into a storyline. And that's when the truth finally slipped out. It wasn't about love fading. It was about feeling trapped. One felt financially suffocated. The other felt emotionally suffocated. Both felt alone. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. After that explosive night, they didn't break up. They tried to reset. Therapy was mentioned. Boundaries were discussed. Separate spaces were created in the same home. On camera, it looked hopeful. Off camera, sources hinted it was colder than ever. And if you've been following this story closely, you know something felt off in the reunion episode. The smiles didn't reach their eyes. Compliments sounded rehearsed. Physical distance grew. But here's the bigger hidden detail that changes everything. Production reportedly encouraged them to push through until filming wrapped. Let that sink in, because contracts don't care about emotional exhaustion. And around the 5-minute mark of their story arc, when viewers thought reconciliation was happening, the real decision had already been made privately. They were counting days, not toward forever, toward freedom. But we're not even at the hardest part yet. Because when the cameras finally stopped, the real fallout began. Bank statements leaked. Not officially, but enough information surfaced online to confirm severe financial strain. Credit cards maxed. Travel loans unpaid. Sponsorship obligations looming. Reddit threads started connecting timestamps of social media posts with filming schedules. TikTok users noticed one partner stopped wearing their ring weeks before the finale aired. And then came the unfollow. It sounds small. It wasn't. In reality TV culture, unfollowing is the digital equivalent of slamming a door. And just like that, the illusion cracked. But here's what devastated fans the most. The admission that came later in a quiet podcast appearance. "I stayed longer than I should have because I didn't want to be the villain." That line changed everything. Because suddenly, the arguments we saw weren't about incompatibility. They were about image management. Nobody wanted to look like the bad guy. Not on national television. Not in front of millions. So they performed perseverance. And that performance cost them both. This is where viewers split. Some believe the sponsor used power unfairly. Others believe the immigrant partner manipulated sympathy to gain leverage. Both sides have receipts. Both sides have blind spots. But here's what's undeniable. When someone says, I can't live like this anymore, they've usually been living like that for a long time. Silently. And the final 60 seconds of this story. That's where it hurts. Because the most devastating reveal didn't come during a fight. It came during a calm moment. After everything. After the tension. After the internet chaos. One of them admitted the love was real. That's the tragedy. The love was real, but the environment wasn't healthy enough to protect it. They weren't enemies. They were two people crushed under expectations. From each other, from fans, from production, from immigration timelines, from financial pressure. And in the end, staying together felt heavier than starting over. So when that final sentence was spoken, I can't live like this anymore, it wasn't a threat. It was survival. Now here's the question that's dividing viewers even today. Was this relationship doomed from the start because of imbalance, or did outside pressure destroy something that could have been saved? Because depending on who you ask, the villain changes. And maybe that's the uncomfortable truth TLC never fully explored. Sometimes there isn't one villain. Sometimes there's just a system that magnifies cracks until love can't breathe. If you've been watching this unfold and feeling like pieces didn't add up, you weren't imagining it. There's more under the surface. And this story, it's not over, because when contracts end and NDAs expire, people start talking. And when they do, we'll be right here connecting the dots nobody else slows down to notice. Thanks for watching this video.